What's up, guys? Welcome to 242 Students Online. My name's Jacob and I'm so glad that you can make it today. So we have an amazing service in store for you, but first we have a game. So we're gonna do a little bit of a versus battle. I'm gonna pick two items, or it's gonna be one topic really, and you're going to type in the chat and say which is better and why. Also, we have staff members that are going to be weighing in with their decisions to hopefully help you decide. So the first one is Marvel versus DC, and Chewy is going to be here to weigh in on the decision.
DC versus Marvel. Well, Batman is pretty cool. I'm gonna have to go with Marvel just because Spider-Man, he's like the coolest friendly neighborhood Spider-Man ever, and he can sling webs and fly in the air on those webs. And not to mention Iron Man, like I don't remember crying when Superman died, but when it's still a sensitive topic, but Marvel is my vote all the way.
Ooh, Chewy went with Marvel because of Spider-Man, which is honestly not a bad choice. Let us know why you picked your decision and why. So next up we have Chipotle versus Qdoba. So be typing in the chat and telling us which one you pick and why. And here is Josh to tell you what his pick is.
It's one of the questions that the world has been trying to answer for years now. Which one's better, Chipotle or Qdoba? Let's be honest and stop kidding ourselves. It's Chipotle, and if you think otherwise, you're wrong. All you have to do to have a good life is follow Jesus and eat Chipotle, because it's better than Qdoba.
Honestly, guys, this one isn't really even a debate. It's Chipotle all day. Josh is right, and even though I've never had Qdoba, like, why would you even betray like Chipotle like that? Like, you can't even try it. Anyways, let's go on to the next one, which our next one is dogs versus cats. And we have Emily from Brighton to tell you which is her favorite.
Here's the deal, guys. Dogs versus cats, it's not even really an argument. I mean, hear me out. Okay, cats are kind of just super passive-aggressive creatures that feed off of you, but don't actually care about you. Dogs, on the other hand, yeah, they're a little more work, but let's be real. They actually care about you. I mean, we've all seen those sad stories when like the dog's owner passes away and they just sit at their grave because they love him so much. You know what a cat would be doing? Not that. A cat would not be doing that. Cat wouldn't care. Cat would be like, all right, who's gonna feed me next? I'm gonna go there. So I'm just saying, do you want a passive-aggressive old man in your house? Or do you want a sweet, loving pup who actually cares about you? Dogs are better.
Emily decided to go with dogs there, which is honestly, that was probably my choice too. Some people, it's either way. Some people live by dogs, or some people live by cats, and it's either way. Be typing in the chat, letting us know what your favorite is and why. So last up, we have ice cream versus frozen yogurt. Make sure you're typing it in and letting us know which is your favorite. And we have Kylie from Ann Arbor letting us know what her favorite is.
This is Kylie. I'm a small group leader for the 12th grade girls. And for sure, well, it's actually harder than for sure, but my favorite is frozen yogurt because you can put all the little toppings onto the frozen yogurt. My favorite is those little balls that are filled with juice. They burst. They're so yummy. So that's my thought. Bye.
Ice cream or frozen yogurt, honestly, it's hard to go wrong with either one of those. They're both great. I'd probably go with frozen yogurt because of all the toppings, but they're both great. So we're about to continue with our service, and we're gonna jump into some worship. So do whatever you have to do to get ready, and we're gonna worship.
I'm not chasing feelings. do this all for high? Is it all to lift you high? I only wanna sing. If I sing with everything, if I sing for you, my King. I can't imagine why I would do this all for high. It's all to lift you high.
Or. It's an interesting word. It's a small word, 2 letters, but it has some powerful implications because it causes us to choose a side. This or that. Michigan State or I don't even care who you're rooting for because I'm rooting for the Spartans. Marvel or DC. Gryffindor or Slytherin. Coffee or tea or cocoa, frozen yogurt or ice cream. The word or causes us to pick a side. And we live in a society that is kind of an or society, this or that. And because we live in a this or that society, we also live in a me or you society, us or them. We pick sides in almost everything. I remember growing up when I was in high school, I went to church, and so I was always trying to figure out who at my school went to church or was a Christian or whatever. And I remember finding out that this one guy at my school named Josh went to church. And while I was thinking in this us or them way, it was finally another person that was part of us, right? Fast forward a few years later, I'm on the basketball team with Josh, and the night before a game, there was a party at someone's house, and some of the guys from the basketball team were at the party and got suspended, and one of the guys that got suspended was Josh. And he was someone that I thought was on our side, like it was us, and because I was thinking in this us or them sort of way, I moved Josh from the he's part of us Christians to the he's part of them. And I treated him as kind of like a them. I'm not proud of that. But it was a result of thinking in terms of or. We do this, right? Whether it's something with our family or politics or, you name it. We do whatever we can, frame trouble to put ourselves in this category or this category. We pit people as enemies because of the way they look or talk or what they believe and or how they behave differently than us. Some of the greatest problems in our country's history have come because of this word or, and we just can't stop thinking of each other as enemies. Sometimes we even do this with God. We pit God as our enemy. Now, while we may use this term a lot, and while we may pit God as our enemy, God has never done the same for us. With God and His love for us, there is no or. God's been trying to demonstrate His love for us from the very beginning. And it's not you get God's love or not. No, with God, it's not about or. It's about, wait for it, for. God's love is for you. And that means all the yous. That means you, and it means your best friends, and it means your people you're not getting along with so well. It means the people you avoid because maybe they hurt you or you've put them in an or category. God is even for people you don't know. God's love is for all of us. And even while we were pitting ourselves against and as enemies against God, He didn't try to put in place a plan for our destruction. Instead, he put in place, put in motion a plan that would restore us to relationship with him again. Through Jesus, God decided to demonstrate his love and bless the entire world. Because of what Jesus has done, we are all invited to be a part of God's family. It's through Jesus that God showed that he is for you. This is how Paul describes it in the Bible in a letter he wrote to the church in Rome. And if you want to follow along with me, flip to Romans chapter 5. I'm going to start in verse 8. This is what it says. But God demonstrates his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. While we were still pitting ourselves as enemies of him, God did something to demonstrate that his love is for you. He goes on. He says this. He says, since we have now been justified, I'm going to get to explain some of these legal terms, by his blood, how much more shall we be saved from God's wrath through him? I want to break this down because this verse is key in understanding the Christian worldview. Paul's saying that anything that puts us in an or category with God is sin. Anytime that we do something that separates us from relationship with him, that's called sin. Jesus kind of boiled sin down to kind of two things. Anytime you do something that's not motivated out of your love for God, that's sin. And anytime you treat someone else that's not motivated out of your love for them, when you act selfishly or in your own interest, that's sin. And sin, he says, basically pits us as enemies against God. Now, let me explain what this is like. It's like if you're trying to get into heaven and you get to the gates of heaven and you have sin in your life, you don't get in. Understand what Paul's saying here is that basically sin keeps us from being able to be near God. We all have sinned. So we all have flunked out of heaven. Me too, I'm guilty. But he says, but God wanted to make a way for us to be justified, which just means for us to be able to get in even though we don't deserve it. Enter Jesus. God sent Jesus to live a life of perfect love, a perfect demonstration of his love for us. And then Jesus, he didn't just do that and then, become king of the world. Instead, after he demonstrated God's love for us with his life, he died on the cross as an even bigger demonstration of his love for us. Because Jesus died on the cross, he took our punishment for us. It's as if the blood on the cross covers our sin and takes our place in separation from God. So now we go back to the gates of heaven and we've got the sin in our life, so we don't deserve to get in. But because Jesus died, it's as if his blood covers our sin, so we're not defined by the sin in our life. We're not defined by the selfishness or the things we've done to pit ourselves against God. Instead, we're defined by the blood of Jesus, and God allows us to enter into relationship with him. It's not because of anything you've done or anything about who you are. It's everything about what Jesus has done and about who Jesus is that we are able to experience relationship with God, because God is for you. Paul leans into this even more in the next verse. He says, for if while we were God's enemies, we were reconciled, which just means brought back into relationship with God. If we were brought back into relationship to God through the death of Jesus, how much more, having been back into relationship with God, reconciled, shall we be saved through his life? He's just saying, if while we were enemies of God, God demonstrated his love to be in relationship with us, then how much more, once we've been saved from the punishment for our sin, how much more will God continue to demonstrate his love through our lives? I think a whole lot more. Here's the gist. I don't know where you're at right now. I don't know if you feel close to God or far from Him. I don't know if you feel like your life has been a good example of Jesus' love or it's been a pretty crummy example. I don't know what you did yesterday or who you said something mean to 3 weeks ago. But I know that no matter what you've done or where you've been or who you've hurt or who's hurt you, God's love is for you. God's love is for all of you. So let me ask you to consider just 2 quick things. I got 2 questions I want you to consider. Understanding that even when we've been the worst enemies of God and pitted ourselves and us or God, God's love has been for us. Because of that, will you just ask yourself these 2 questions? The first one's this. Who is someone that you maybe haven't been the best example of being for them? Like your life hasn't been the best example or the best demonstration of God's love as for all people. Who's someone that you could do a better job being for? I mean, think about it. Maybe even write their name down. Who's someone that maybe you need the courage today to call them, to text them, to show up in their life in some way and say, I'm not going to hold a grudge anymore. I'm not going to hold unforgiveness back anymore. I'm not going to, I'm going to, despite what you did to me, despite what I've felt about you in the past, I'm going to put that aside because I'm going to love you like Jesus did and I'm going to be for you. The second question is this. If you really believe that God's love is for you, and that you are called to be a demonstration of God's love, how might you love the people you come in contact with, not physical contact, but relational contact? How might you love them differently, knowing that God's called you to be for all people? Students, God's love is for you. May you use your love to be for the people in your life.
I wanna be close to you. I wanna be close to you. And there's nothing in this world that compares to who you are. In the arms of the Father, oh, there is love like no other. He who formed all things offers love to me. Where you go, we will follow. Through the dark, through the narrow, and in all we do, yeah, we are bound to you. I wanna be close to you. I wanna be close to you. And there's nothing in this world that compares to all you are. We are found in your presence, seeking you in your fullness. Give us eyes to see. You are all we need, oh God. I wanna be close to you. I wanna be close to you. And there's nothing in this world that compares to all you are. My soul devotion, my
Hey guys, thank you for joining us today at 242 Students Online. If you aren't connected in a small group yet or haven't been showing up to our services, but you want to be connected, go ahead and fill out our Next Steps card in the description below. That will help us get you connected with a small group with people just like you. Anyways, thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next week.